Bonjour and welcome to French black metal time here in Rauta. Usually I would have a little bit of wine or champagne or I don't know, a packet so that they could be very, very French while sipping the snails while you fart in your general direction. That goes the Easter egg, and this time we're talking about Aorlhac. This is named after the home city, but with an older, now archaic language. And to be honest, I rarely, if ever, encounter a black metal band that is named after their own home city. Not that there is anything wrong with that, but it's a really bit unusual take in the genre where things are either very, very deeply rooted in the works of the devil or some kind of darkness or death or I don't know, things of darker, grim nature and all that stuff, or at least very, very romantic ways, something like, I don't know, dark metal, gothic metal, vampires, whatever inspired. But this tells me it's all about home city. I mean, could you really imagine a band named like Londonium or whatever? Well, quite possibly there is some. Now, a background explained. This time I have three different, very, very cool looking reissue ones of the band's albums. I will soon explain them more, but let's take a look what these are all about. We'll start with the debut EP, Le Croisée, The Vents, then go to La Cité, The Vents, and finally L'Esprit, The Vents. Pardon for my French, I'm not really a French speaking citizen, so here we are. These have all similar style, which just makes this even more beautiful. Lecteur de l'Ombre is the label once again, and they are known always for their quality work with the packaging. In my opinion, if I had to pick just one label of all in black metal and talk about CDs especially, this would be definitely high there up on my list, because this is a label that never fails you when we're talking about the packaging, how the albums are presented. So these are all A5 digiback or digibook in terms of what they are, and now of course a little bit different in terms of the cover images versus the ones that you probably saw on the thumbnail of the video. So these are all differently designed now. So once again, these are almost like miniature books, and this is something to complement your CD collection with if you're into the music, because like I said, I'm a fan of special packaging. Not that there is anything fundamentally wrong with your typical jewel case and all, or even your typical, black LPs. But when it comes to gatefolds with LPs or special digipacks and beyond with the CDs, I'm like, hey, take my money, count me in. Of course, that is assuming that the actual releases are worth buying, worth storing, and so forth. But I'll just show you these quickly before we start talking about the music. Finally, we have the L'Esprit, the Vents. And if you're now thinking, you are already figured right. There's a theme with the names, and those who know your French language, of course, know what these album names are. Vents is not much like in Spanish, referring to wind or winds in plural, as you can figure out. And the first one is such at the crossroads of winds. That I actually had to totally, just take a look at the translation tool. Couldn't have figured it out by myself. Not that I know anything about French, apart from saying like merci beaucoup or whatever, and bonjour and some cursing words, obviously. But vents, yeah, it means winds. So we have, wrong order. First, the crossroads of the winds, then the city of winds, and finally the spirits of the winds, or of winds, whatever. But this is the story, and so here we are, band's metal site. Aorlhac from France is the city, and here it is already explained that this Aorlhac is actually the now old archaic language Occitan language of the city. So, pretty interesting historical story. And here we have themes, medieval times, Occitan history. That explains the very, very medieval looking art you have here with the albums. I mean, of course, probably you figured it out already, but just explaining why there is that, because the original ones, if you like a look at, for example, here, it's different, yet somehow similar in style. And this is already pointing out to the very first, starting point after the demo 2008 and all. So there is this medieval style, but already the second album, second release, this is technically speaking the first full album, is different. I mean, it's medieval, but not really the kind of a medieval art what you just saw. And you would go for Les Pierres de Vence. Well, this is more like a beautiful painting, but not that anything anymore doing with the medieval style. And the album which I previously also reviewed, Pierre Brûlé. I mean, this is of course very, very different with the rather volcanic cover. Now, last two albums, also Les Pierres des Vents from 2018 and Pierres Brûlés, are something that I reviewed previously. So I was just going back to this particular album in terms of like reviewing these all and talking about a little bit of the evolution of the band throughout these years. So let's start talking about the music finally after a lengthy intro. So what started in 2008, and now you have to look at the members list. You will figure out that obviously the band had quite a few members that are not anymore present in the band. So what started in 2008 has gone into different iterations. So there's like two original members from 2007, the drums, guitar dudes, and the vocals. The vocals are really good throughout all the albums. But bass player and guitars, they are different, and guitars are actually very, very new from this year. So didn't exactly take part on this given album and all. But that's how life goes with bands, music and all. Now, talking about French black metal, basically you can go two different ways when we're talking about the main styles in French black metal. You can go with the really raw end of primitive black metal, the kind of mutilation and the like, Pelquetre and all that stuff, which is very, very different. The Les Légions Noires kind of stuff, or LLN. And then there is this more modern style, very, very strongly presented by the actors Leon Perret Productions or LADLO. And this is one of those bands which is with the LADLO style. And by LADLO style, I mean overly melodic, modern style of black metal, which has certain pointers towards the 90s. Think about whatever happened in the Nordic countries and whatever in terms of music. But there is also very distinctive French style, as opposed to say whatever like Swedish melodic style. Everybody probably knows when you're thinking about Swedish black metal and all, like what is this music all about. But it's very, very different when we go to France. And certain French mindset is very, very much present with black metal coming from Quebec. Quebecois black metal, being melodic and whatnot, is however a little bit different from French. But now you know roughly where or which kind of box you're gonna put this one into if you're thinking of Aorlhac's music nowadays. Now what started with basically this EP à la Croisée des Vents, once again, sorry for my French, is very, very melodic. And you have the kind of a folkier part, which is of course because of the medieval things. So while it's not really like folk black metal, you have hints of this folkier style. I mean, it's like flirting with certain kind of folk tunes. I mean, you could really play some of these songs with traditional instruments, remove all the metal, and you would probably still figure out, hey, okay, this is very, very medieval. It's not as melodic as Schönhofer, which is here mentioned as the second one, like in similar artist tab here. That is even more melodic, in my opinion, and even kind of a more cheesier, might be because of that. That's why people like it so much. But I'm saying that it's kind of a different level in terms of like going overly melodic with the style. And it's different listed here as melodic black metal, where Aorlhac is just listed as black metal. goes beyond the scope of this review to talk about all the details and all that stuff, but I mean, there is a point why these are mentioned. So then you have these Quebecois bands like Fortress or Délétère mentioned, which are very, very melodic, yet also quite aggressive and fast tempo and all that stuff, which are definitely right there. Now, personally, I don't know Vehemence except for name, so I really can't compare if that is closer to that one. Anyway, because of the melodic nature of the band, you're kind of like have to understand what this band is all about. So flirting with the medieval melodies, having the medieval themes throughout the course of the whole band, but also a little bit evolving release after release. However, what started at Le Croisée it didn't change that much when we go to La Cité events, the debut album 2 years later. The style is actually very, very close, but maybe La Cité is a little bit less folky and almost seems like, or feels like, that these are somehow more like leftover ideas from the very first EP. These are really like two brothers. Some people might disagree, but when I'm thinking these two, I'm thinking like, it's almost like similar what Dark Throne had with, say, a Transylvanian Hunger and the Refinery Moon, like definitely tapping to the very same source, just a little bit different output, but basically if you're gonna like one, you're gonna like the other one as well. If I had to pick winner here, I would say the debut EP is slightly better than La Cité, and that is because this feels a little bit more like recycling the original ideas versus this one, but let's be honest about it, the differences are very, very small. Both are overly melodic, a little bit of that folkier stuff going on, and very, very good aggressive vocals. And production is also very, very solid. So whatever these guys started with, they already knew what they were going. So then we go to Le Spirit, which came 8 years after the first album. Don't know really what took them so long, but here it is said that the band wasn't active after 2010 until 2017, meaning they probably went on hiatus or split up to realize, hey, we're gonna do more of this music. And the funny thing is, this is actually really a step up from the first two releases, while still keeping it very, very true to the original style. Once again, doing overly melodic stuff and going with fast pace and all that stuff, but now the folkier parts are mostly, well, pretty much totally forgotten. So while it's similar style than the two first ones, but it's the similar style without the folkier parts. And I gotta be honest with you, I actually like it that it's changed. And the same goes for Pierre Brulés 3 years later, but that goes out of this review anyway. My point here is, these guys figured early on what they want to do, and they wanted to do melodic black metal. So they took the steps, and because of their love for medieval, it's right there. But later on, maybe they figured out it's not really needed. Or maybe it's the risk of getting really too cheesy when you add those folkier parts, unless you go all in for the folk stuff, and then it becomes like folk metal or folk black or whatever. And then you're talking about bands like, say, Fintroll and all that stuff, which is very, very different than this one. So, unless you go for the epic black metal, flirting with fantasy topics and all, like Moonsorrow, or then you go for real fantasy stuff or medieval stuff, a la Fintroll, or then you just keep your distance and do it like this. Either way, if you're into French melodic style, I don't know if there are a lot better bands than Aorlhac in terms of, channeling this kind of essence, the medieval folkiness, but mainly focusing on somewhat of a second/third wave black metal. I wouldn't call it third wave in the sense like there's nothing really dissonant. It's more about aggression married into this overly melodic style. And if you like melodic parts and fast tempo, well, like I said, this is the stuff you should be checking out. Now, of course, the big question, which I probably already answered between the lines, is which one is the best of these three? Well, obviously for me, Le Spirit, because it's more honed, more polished, more focused than the first two ones. But really also, let's be honest about it, if you like any of these first three, you're gonna probably like all of them. In my opinion, this band has progressed nicely and evolved from the early days to a better version of itself. But if I had to be a critical here, and I always have to be at least a little bit, I would say these songs could be even more memorable. So while they have potentially quite catchy melodies, and they have the good production, they have really, really good aggressive vocals, and they know how to speed up, they know how to slow down. These songs could be maybe a little bit more focused in the sense of like adding a little bit repetition in terms of melodies, and making it even more impactful, if you know what I mean. Anyhow, overall, I would say it's a very, very potential band. It's quite good of a band overall, and later two albums have shown that the band is able to progress, evolve, becoming the better version of the early days. So for fans of melodic French black metal, I think I said everything and beyond and already. Give it a go. And if you like the physical format, I would say ditch the idea of getting the original ones. These are so much more beautiful, at least in my eyes. So I would say imagine these in your bookshelf or whatever, in case you love CDs in the first place. Now, there might be some other versions I haven't actually, to be honest, checked, but probably so. There are, LPs out there as well. So if you're a vinyl fanatic, probably go for them. If not, well, CDs are always a good option. Now, I hope I gave you a little bit of insight or a little bit of idea what this music is all about. And off you go to check it out. You will find links provided in the description box. So start listening to some medieval French tunes and tune into the French mindset of modern days black metal. See you soon with more reviews coming your way, as always.